Hello everyone, this is Sydney and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, Yandere, Masky, X-Reader by FluffyWubs. We're going to be starting off with chapter 54. I stuffed some of the extra food I got for on the way into my brand new backpack. It took me under 5 minutes to find a decent traveling backpack with many compartments that could fit multiple things at once. I swung the strap of the bag over one of my shoulders before doing the same to the other one. The guy who sat near the fountain had disappeared by the time I left the store, which made me feel a bit more relieved, to be honest. I walk out of the mall holding the straps over my shoulders with my hands. Now, the next thing to do on my list is find a taxi. But what should my next destination be? I have no idea where I exactly am, let alone where I'd like to go. I guess I'll just walk through the streets and see where I end up. Maybe I'll find a taxi somewhere nearby. I make my way out of the almost empty parking lot, heading towards the sidewalk. I'll just keep going forward. That should do the trick, honestly. As I walked along the pavement, I stared off at the road beside me, watching as multiple cars sped by, probably over the speed limit. Would that be the easiest way to go, to get hit by a speeding car? I mean, as I get lost in my mind, I go over all the possibilities. There's a chance I'd die immediately, but there's still a chance I'll survive it. And being so lost in my thoughts, I suddenly snap back to reality when a car horn starts frantically honking. I realize I'm in the middle of the road and a speeding car is heading right towards me. I stumble back in surprise, landing on my behind back on the edge of the sidewalk. As the car speeds past me, my heart felt like exploding. How in the world did I get myself over there? I let out a shaky breath before raising myself back onto my feet. Close call, maybe that's not the best way to go. Come on, don't look so stiff. Masky grinned slyly, nudging Lou in the ribs with his elbow. Lou grunted, averting his gaze from the main stage in the middle of the room as they walked past it. This is an uncomfortable experience for him. He kept his mind solely on trying to find someone that looks like a Rob, or at least tried to. Masky walked up ahead, scanning his eyes around the room while music blasted from the club's DJ, along with multiple cheers being heard from the multiple people sitting near the stage. Some of the girls were roaming around freely, most of them only dressed with tiny undergarments or completely topless or naked. Lou only hoped he didn't run into any of the female workers here. As Masky casually walked past multiple sweaty and aroused men, he kept his guard up. With his head tilted up confidently, he walked towards the bar across the stage and leaned against the counter. While the bartender was busy with other customers, he eyed the drinks they had to offer. For such a cheap place, the drinks were far from being low-priced, and mixed drinks that are probably watered down are more overpriced than they should be. A bunch of greedy bastards. Masky crossed his arms over the counter, patiently waiting for the bartender to finish up as he stared off to the main stage. Some lady, way too old to be in a strip club, by the way, wore skimpy clothes while dancing around the middle pole. There were a few attractive females here, but they were mostly drowned out by the older workers roaming around. Speaking of attractive females, a slim girl with coal black hair that fell all the way down to her lower back caught Masky's attention. She placed her hands on Masky's shoulders in a gentle way as she shot an overly sweet smile. Her short clothing barely covering her breasts, not like Masky minded. "Hi, handsome." The girl lightly squeezed his shoulders. "Need someone to keep you company? How about a dance?" she offered suggestively. Masky opened his mouth for a few seconds before hesitating. No, he has to keep his mind on the one thing he has to do. "Sorry, sweetheart." Masky dismissed the bribing girl. "Maybe later," he stated. The girl smiled, removing her hands from his shoulders. "Call out for sugar if you change your mind." She snuck a wink at Masky before making her way to the back of the stage, otherwise known as the dressing room. Masky softly laughed to himself. "This place ain't half bad, huh, Lou?" Masky smiled. He waited a few seconds for some sort of quiet response, but when he got none, he looked over his shoulder. "Lou?" He furrowed his brows, realizing that his friend was no longer near him. Shit. Masky cursed underneath his breath. He probably lost him while he was lost in his own mind while walking to the bar. Oh well, he'd find him later somewhere around. "What can I get you?" Masky almost jumped at the gravelly voice that came from behind the counter as he snapped his head back around to the bartender. Yeah, you know a guy called Rob Hill?" Masky wasted no time and went straight to the point. The bartender arched a brow. He stayed quiet for a few seconds, probably debating whether he should tell Masky or not if he knew him. After a bit of silence, the bartender finally spoke up. "Yeah, he's usually at the VIP booth. You'll find him there," he responded. Masky smiled to himself before tapping the counter and pushing himself off of it. "Thanks." Masky walked back the way he came from, trying to spot his friend. He'd probably find Lou shying away in a corner or some shit like that, so it would be best to look around those empty parts of the building. Even after walking a circle around the entire room and even checking the bathrooms, Lou was nowhere to be found. Maybe he made his way out the door. Masky let out an irritated sigh to himself before pushing his way through multiple people heading for the doors. Before he could grab the handle, he suddenly heard an excited shout that made him retract his hand in surprise. That definitely sounded like someone familiar. Masky retreated back into the crowd of different kinds of people, ranging from customers to workers, as he followed the way the shout came from. It took him a minute or so, but he finally found the stitched male. In a booth somewhere against a wall sat Lou with a girl sprawled across a table in front of him. Lou's words were slurred as he tried to construct a proper, understandable sentence. I just drank 5 shots off of this chick. The voice was clear enough to make Masky realize that it wasn't Lou, but Sully instead. Lou, Masky shouted through the blaring music, managing to catch Lou's attention. Masky, holy fuck, I'm so... Sully trailed off, only to become silent, not knowing what he was going to say. God, how did this bastard drink so much in such little time? He didn't even know what he was saying at this point. Masky grabbed Lou by the sleeve before dragging him away. It's Tim, don't forget to call me Tim, moron. Masky sneered loud enough for Sully to hear, and Sully let out a throaty laugh. Sure, Tim, we are on the same flutie here. Sully snickered. If Masky could punch some sense into him at the moment, he would, but considering he's surrounded by many people, it would only stir controversy and end up with him getting kicked out. Masky dragged Lou towards the bathroom where the music sounded muffled and he could hear each other clearer. Lucky for them, nobody was in the bathroom as they entered, so they could talk about whatever without a care. Alright, so, Masky started. Before he could give an explanation on what info he had so far, Lou found himself entertainment with the dirty bathroom mirrors. Damn, look at me, look like one hell of a hunk, that's what. Sully grinned at himself in the mirror before bursting out laughing. Masky grunted to himself, pinching the bridge of his nose to remain as cool. Sully's energy would die out soon enough, and once Sully was done with his little play session on his own, Masky decided to speak up once more. So, Rob is somewhere in the VIP booth, so I've heard, and from what I saw while looking for you is that you need a badge to get past the bouncer. I was thinking Masky got abruptly cut off. We find some guys with VIP badges and smash their fucking skulls open to steal the badges. Sully excitedly exclaimed. Masky blinked. Yeah, that. Masky paused. That could work too, he stated. Sully beamed, grabbing Masky's arm tightly. Hell yeah, come on, I saw 2 dudes with badges, let's get 'em. After almost half an hour of mindlessly walking, I found myself in an empty neighborhood. Dead-looking houses that looked like they were left to rot. You'd see 1 or 2 decent-looking houses between all the dead ones, but I doubt anyone lives there. I stop in my tracks to take a short break and look around. This place is so unnerving. Even the shady neighborhood near my place isn't as bad as this. At least there are people around at the other neighborhood, one like this one. This one is completely deserted. Maybe I should backtrack and go some other way. I don't like how this place feels. I turn back around on my heels and walk back the way I came from. It's so creepy around here. Why does my town have so many creepy neighborhoods? Empty alleyways, empty houses, even in broad daylight, I wouldn't want to stay around here. I stare off into an alley I pass. I'd occasionally spot a raccoon digging through trash, which is surprising since this neighborhood place is completely dead. I decide to keep my gaze in front of me before I accidentally run into something like a street pole and hurt myself. I stuff my hands into my pockets, letting my fingers graze over the stack of bills I still had. Feels good to have a decent amount of money to get around with. And as I walk back down the street, just as I pass an empty alleyway, I suddenly feel an arm around my waist. A hand wraps around my mouth from behind as I get pulled in between 2 rotten houses, and my back slams against a moldy brick wall, my backpack subduing at least a bit of the pain from the sudden push. What in the world just... Before I could clearly figure out what was happening, I suddenly stiffen up at the cold, sharp object being pressed against my neck. Your money. A gruff voice suddenly speaks up, and I notice the person who had me cornered is the same person I saw at the mall. Same hood, same blonde, scruffy beard. It was no doubt him. Did he follow me all the way here? Give it to me or I'll slit your throat, he threatened. It sounds like a painful way to die. I'd rather not. Then again, I can't just give him the money. It's the only thing I'm depending on. No. I tried to sound confronting and firm, but it still came out as a nervous stutter. The man looked at me with his dull eyes before his lips twisted into a scowl. You want to fucking die? He seethed, piercing the sharp blade through my skin enough to make me wince. I'm not giving you anything. I stammered as firmly as I could. The guy seemed taken aback by my words before hissing. I'll take it from you then. He simply spoke. Before I even knew it, I felt a sharp sting in my side. I inhaled sharply before squeezing my eyes shut in pain. No. I can barely stay on my feet. My knees wobble, and I end up sinking to the ground, clenching my side, and I notice a large stain forming on the side of my shirt as red liquid runs through my fingers. The male forces me onto my back by pressing his foot on my chest, pushing me down on the ground. I breathe out as the stranger pats down my chest all the way down to my stomach until he feels a stack of money in the pockets of my jacket. He digs his hand inside and pulls out the stack of money, my last source of survival out here. He then proceeds to slip my backpack off my back before zipping it open, checking the contents inside. He's only going to find food in there, anyway. After the male got what he wanted, he simply ran off without a word, with all the cash in his possession. I grunt, pulling myself up onto my knees. The stinging sensation in my side won't leave, and I feel like my body is being heated in a boiling pot as I flop back down breathlessly. It hurts so much I try once more to pull myself onto my knees, holding myself up by keeping my free hand on the moldy wall beside me. And after a minute of trying to calm myself down, I slip my free hand to the back pocket of my pants, pulling out my phone. I won't make it out of here if I call out for help. I'll be damned if I'm dying by someone else's hands other than my own. And with a trembling hand, I make an emergency call to 911. I don't have the patience nor strength to figure out where I am, but they'll be able to track me. And here's to hope they are quick enough. We've been searching for 10 minutes, Sully. 10. Masky emphasized the word 10 in frustration. Sully told Masky he knew where the guys with the badges were, yet after 10 minutes of looking around, none were found. Masky was already getting tired with the blaring music and grinding strippers, so he'll have to start with his original plan. No, shush, I know where the fuck they are. Sully trailed off, looking all around the room. Masky simply ignored Sully and stuffed his hand in his pocket, grasping the handle of the gun he stole. Plan B, Masky huffed. He took his gun from his pocket and cocked the slide back before firing a single bullet into the air, which pierced right through the roof. This was enough to get people to scream and scramble for whatever safety, including the bouncer who was guarding the VIP door. While people scrambled to get out of the club, nearly trampling each other to death, Masky made his way to the VIP room, pulling Sully along with him. He pulled down the handle of the VIP room, allowing entrance to himself. Inside the VIP room was the exact contrary of the actual club, fancy-looking couches, which were ruined by multiple stains. There weren't many people inside besides one or two guys, and the rest were people who worked in the place. Who here is Rob Hill? Masky questioned loud enough for people inside to hear. The first guy that made eye contact with Masky immediately yelled, "Shit, he has a gun." The girls were the first ones to react rather quickly by screaming and rushing past Masky. He didn't bother to stop them. It wasn't them that Masky needed. The only few guys that stayed behind hid behind the couches to use as cover. And Masky sighed irritably. "Where's Rob Hill?" he repeated angrily. One of the males peeked over the couch, holding a hand up, and Masky narrowed his eyes. "You should know where Ryan Gray is. Where is he?" Rob stammered nervously, before swallowing thickly and responding. "He's at the hospital a few neighborhoods down before this one," he shakily responded. Masky furrowed his brows. Fucking damn it," Masky cursed. "He came here for nothing. There's only one nearby hospital, and that's the one where he first came from. Let's just fucking go already," Masky seethed. That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 55. Let me know how you guys feel about that one, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.